All right, welcome. Thanks for coming and watching. Let's get to this here. Um, Saturday. I know it's a funny day. I had a few people message and say, "Hey, I can't come watch. I can't come watch on Saturday." And it's not a big deal, actually. The main reason I do the streams is because they're like so much lower effort than like preparing videos and uploading them and all that stuff. So um, that's the only reason I do these. So like I don't it's okay if you guys can't watch it when it's live. Like it's the important part is getting the information out. So okay, so we have today. I'm kind of doing this as a little bit impromptu. The whole point is to talk about this new system, this new alerting system that I've built for GTH trading. Um, it launches on Tuesday. It's officially called the Signals Engine. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit here, and kind of like the description says in the video, it's not meant to be an ad or a marketing pitch, because certain GTH members just get it. Just by they don't have to do anything. They just start getting it. Um, so I wanted to go through this because, a lot of people know that I spent a lot of years in software engineering. I've run a number of engineering teams. I was a CTO at one of the companies that I worked at. And so like there's kind of this journey story here. There's this architectural story. There's this engineering story. And I'm not going to bore people with a bunch of engineering details. But I am going to talk a little bit about all of the pieces of this, because it's kind of cool, and like you can geek out on it a little bit. Like I've put a pretty substantial amount of effort into building an actual product. So anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first thing, and I'm gonna share a couple of examples, and I'm gonna share some other things other than just this like little window of me talking, and this trading view window taking up the whole screen. There'll be more. So anyway, so the big thing, the first piece of this is why did I make this? So as everybody knows, if you didn't know before a minute ago, you know now. I spent a lot of years as a software engineer, and so I'm kind of like soft retired. And I say soft because like, well, I'm still here making this thing for GTH trading. And I'm kind of one of those people that I don't think I'll ever like quit moving. Like I have other hobbies that I do, but like I just like creating stuff. So but when I started this, I created the GTH LLC as a container for like all of the trading profit that I make during the course of the year. And at some point, I found myself, spending a pretty decent amount of time over the weekend, doing this whole analysis that, everybody kind of sees part of that in the blueprint. And so I was doing, looking at all these stocks, and I'm doing all this analysis, and I'm making all these notes, and it used to be just in this spreadsheet. And so at one point I was like, I should like, set up the Patreon. And so I set up the Patreon, and then it was like, and then the blueprint became very formalized, right? With all the different sections and all of these different sorts of areas in them. And at one point I started saying, and I've had this happen with previous businesses that I've started. I started saying, wow, like I'm spending like so much time on this analysis that I'm not getting an opportunity to like talk about my trades with people. I'm not, growing the community and all of these other sorts of things. And so I was like, I should like automate part of this process. Like I know how to do it. It takes time, but I can build it. I can like have this be something that the members get all week long. And so that's where it came from. It was like taking this codified approach that and I say all the time, I tell people like, the way I trade is not necessarily the way that I think that you should trade. I have lots of members that I tell this to, like, I'm not, a lot of people are like, well, follow my model and follow this, whatever. And but no, like it works for me and I help the members find out what works for them. And if that has nothing to do with the way that I trade, then so be it. So, but I set all of this up so that all of these members could get trades during the week, all week long. Um, Not necessarily the setup with the strikes and all the implementation, but stocks that show good structure and good trend and like are set up bullishly for a trade. And so that's why it was there. It allowed me to like do all of that in addition to everything else I'm doing. So it's kind of an efficiency thing, but it's for the members. Um, so past that, I want to talk a little bit about the architecture here, and the architecture is really it's kind of interesting, and there's a lot of evolution that's going to happen here. But there's a few pieces, and so for anybody who's into software or knows anything about stacks or whatever, so it's I have a whole bunch of Pine scripts that have been written, and they're super long, and I'll talk about those in a minute. Those are used for initial data ingestion. I have a backend server that I run on a home machine. I have a super powerful Mac Studio. Not that I need that machine to run this server because it's not terribly CPU intensive. But so I have this Go backend server that runs on this home server machine. It sidecars and it's sitting next to a PostgreSQL database, and then a front end right now is being written for to take place in a website, and I'll show that to you in a minute. And that's being written in React. So like there's a whole host of kind of cool stuff that's going on here. So okay, so what's involved in the architecture? So there's this set. I started out writing this set of Pine scripts. And so you can see actually on the screen here, down in on the bottom right and the top right, you see this criteria that's sitting up here, and it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense what it is, but it's just some debugging stuff. And so I have these scripts, and so I'll kind of show you, and they're huge. They're these big, long scripts, right? And so I've got that one and this one here, and what they do is they pull in, they take all of this data in, and they calculate a whole bunch of details about the entire watch list. And so the system, the Signals Engine, is working off of essentially right now the watch list, although that's going to expand in the future. But it pulls in, it ingests all this data from TradingView. And it assembles it. So it turns out you can configure TradingView for webhooks, and you can send off JSON requests out on the web. And so I have these alerts set up right now. There's a couple of them here, and you can see I have a test alert, and I've got a whole bunch of alerts on watch lists on different areas of TradingView. And so what happens is it crunches all of this data for every stock. It assembles a long list of data in JSON format, and TradingView, anytime one of these time frames, this 1 hour or 1 day, for example, one of those time frames trips and all of the criteria in that script is satisfied, it sends a request to my server that I have sitting here with this backend Go server. The Go server takes it in. It crunches a bunch of math. It does a bunch of calculations. I have a Black-Scholes implementation in there that now is calculating call and put prices at the money, theoretical prices. And I'm actually also imputing sigma in there. I'm imputing the implied volatility, although that calculation still needs a little bit of work, but that's all happening in the server. The server has this in-memory cache. It takes in all of this data and stores it. And when a set of these time frames decide that they're going to, correlate, when all the criteria from all the different time frames across all of these indicators is filled, it sends off a signal. And that signal on the web page, right now I'm posting those on Patreon. in the future, you'll be able to log into the website. And I say future, like this is just weeks away. Like it's maybe a month or two. It's not that far. But as a member, you'll be able to log into the website. You'll be able to look at all those alerts. And I'll get into that. I'll get into the future stuff in a minute. But the point is that the server composes this signal with the analysis, and it gets posted on Patreon, and members can elect to have that notification emailed to them. And then it stores that data, so we have these historical records moving forward now of when these signals tripped for certain stocks and securities and stuff like that. So it's a whole big thing. And it's also, I have a number of integrations. There's a few real-time stock APIs that I'm integrating into that for an additional set of analysis and whatnot. And so that's the essence of the way that the system works. I'm going to give you a couple examples, and then I'll talk about a few things that are on the roadmap, and we'll try to wrap it up. I'm at 12 minutes. I'm so good at rambling. I always tell you guys that I'm gonna keep it short, and then it's never short, but I can't imagine we'll go more than 20-25 minutes here. So all right, so if we go in here and so this is the actual website. It's just parked right now, but this gth-trading.com is live, and like I said, we're building the web page for it, the set of functionality there right now. And for now, it's just parked, but in the next few weeks, there will be a real live page that you can go and register at and log in and look at all this stuff, provided that you're a member of the Patreon page. It all comes from the Patreon. So I have a couple examples here, and so we'll start. There was this one on Oscar. I posted this on Patreon. I guess, let's see, June 9th. So 11 days ago. This was during testing. So these are all test things, and I went through and I've had to fix little spelling mistakes, and I'd have to fix formatting and all that stuff. And so it's taken the core functionality was written in a few weeks, and the testing took double that amount of time, because it's very hard to really test it when the market's not open. I can create these test suites and whatever, but they don't mimic the market. So the market has to be open for me to test, and I have to trade while the market's open. So testing is minimal. But anyway, this is what the alert looked like 11-ish days ago. So it gives you this thing. It says is a new bullish alert, and it's called an alert here. I still have to get used to it too. I'm coining this as a signal, because an alert is such a small, benign piece of information. It doesn't tell you the whole picture, but a signal is something you can have a thorough conversation about. So back then I hadn't come up with this term signal, but this is what it looks like. It gives you the time, the price, the closing price. Now, the way it's set right now, the closing price here is actually the price when this kicks off. It's the price that the stock is at in the current candle, right? So we haven't closed yet. It kicks off real time. It doesn't wait for the end of the candle. So that price is the current price. And there's a small technical snapshot. We give the highs and the lows, volatility, moving averages. I've added to this more for data right now than analysis. There's a 5 and a 20 day as well. You guys know that I love the 5 and the 20 day. R value on the linear regression is really important, because the R value is telling you how well correlated the data is. If there's a lot of variance, right, then the market doesn't agree well. But if the variance is really low, then you have a reasonable agreement, right? And so a low R value here, you can see it on this graph, that low R value means here that essentially there's a lot of variance, right? It's difficult to really know what the market thinks about. But it's part of this calculation here. You get the R value, but as part of the analysis is that the linear regression must be positive slope on the 1 hour and the 1 day time frames. Like if there's not a positive slope on the linear regression on both of those time frames as one of, I don't know, a dozen criteria, then the signal never kicks off. And then RSI. This RSI is the 1 day RSI. It's kind of trying to tell us whether we're overbought or oversold, essentially. The screenshot I put in myself, it's not, the software doesn't generate screenshots. I put that screenshot in, but then this whole thing right here, this whole piece, all these technical notes, that's all part of the composition that happens in the automation. And so to be clear, this is not an AI generated thing. Like I went through and created cases because there's no need for it, right? The AI is wrong and I need things to be exact and mathematical and all the time, 100%. And so this composition has all been created based on a variety of different conditions inside the software. You can see here that Ichimoku, like I check all these criteria as part of it, and so it passes there, and I see this, again, it's another screenshot. And then I do a couple of things that you guys might have not ever seen me do in analysis, and that is that I'm providing mathematical details about the cloud, like things that we talk about in general, like, oh, the cloud is expanding or it's got good area or something like that. But here you're actually getting percentages, right? Like we're talking about the percentage difference that the conversion line is above or above the baseline. The percentage difference of the Senku span A and span B, which are the two forward cloud lines, right? Like the difference separation between those, essentially measuring whether we have expansion or compression or anything like that. So this is a quick example of what Oscar looked like. And actually down here there was a comment. Let's see, I put this in 5.2%. The Oscar had gone up since the alert, and now I put that up a week ago. But right now at close here, or at the current time, it was 26.52. If you go look back at Oscar right now, it's at like 28 something. So it's gone up 10% since I published this alert. So I don't know. That's a pretty good benchmark, I think. And then Marvel. Now, everybody knows Marvel went up. There's nothing magical here, and I'm not putting these up as a sales pitch, right? Because it's more about the founder's journey or the software story. And Marvel, all the tech, these large heavy tech companies have been going up anyway. So Marvel's not it's not like incredibly surprising that we would see Marvel go up, since this alert was published 4 days ago. But last week, Marvel was on the list. It got signals kicked off on Marvel, I think 4 out of the 5 days last week. And I actually published 2 signals to the Patreon page in that time period. So again, we have the same thing here: closing prices, volatility, linear regression, RSI, and then here's the new ones that I added this last week because I felt like it's going to be very important for the analysis. Again, these signals don't give strike prices. I'm not trying to tell people what to trade. I'm trying to arm people immediately with data that allows them to decide whether they want to act on something that has a bullish trend or structure to it. So I've added an algorithm that computes theoretical at the money call and put values for Black-Scholes. Like I said earlier, I'm imputing the value of sigma, which is implied volatility, which is required. It's a big piece of how these values are calculated. That value is not perfect, and it's not easy to get just perfect. And so I'm still working on that, and probably at some point I'll just pull it from some other source so that I don't even have to do the calculation. But then I also added this change, this S&P and NASDAQ change since the previous day's close. So this isn't, these values here are not the change for the day, right? Because an index or a stock or anything can, and almost always does, open at a different value the next day that it closed at from the previous day. So this is looking at from the close the previous day, regular trading hours. So you can say, okay, well, SPX and NASDAQ actually are down since yesterday afternoon, and Marvel is still up. So that's kind of an interesting measure of strength, right? Otherwise, it's a lot of the same stuff in here. It's and you see a little bit more detail here about the cloud and the baseline and how Marvel was outperforming the indices at the time that this was posted. So that's just another example. Okay, we're at 22 minutes. We're getting close there. We're getting super close. The last thing I want to talk about is a future roadmap. So part of this is that this product, and this is something that we find in tech startups, software tech startups all the time. A bunch of people have a bunch of ideas and they want to implement these ideas and they want to write code for a year and a half before they release a product and just put everything in it. But what we find when we do the case studies is that doesn't work out well. The important thing is to get like what we call MVP, a minimum viable product. And that is a product that you can put out that people can use, that has a streamlined set of functionality. And then you ask the users what they want, what they need, what they like, what they don't like. And so that's the goal here, is that this bullish signal is a full featured signal. It provides users with an indication that a stock is bullish, and it does it it backs that up with like 4 or 5 different indicators across 2 time frames right now. I'll be adding more time frames, the 4-hour and the weekly especially, in the future. But the point is that there's a lot left in here. So I'm going to mention a few things, and really what I want is feedback. I want people to tell me what they like. I want people to tell me what they don't like. I want people to tell me what works and what doesn't work. There's not really any bugs that I can think of, but I'm sure that once people start using it, they're going to find things that are like, whoa, you've got to work on this, buddy. Like, come on now. So that's software for you, right? So anyway, so future roadmap. Right now we have this bullish signal, right? Like Marvel is bullish. It's, same analysis you guys have seen me do a zillion times, right? You see it looks so good on the graph. The Ichimoku is, it looks very nice. I want to put in what I'll probably call a bottom signal. And a bottom signal is it's not buying the dip, right? Like buying the dip is super scary, and there's several places where most professional institutional traders will tell you like never ever ever do that. It's so bad, don't do it. And a lot of times they're right. But it's just risky. And so, but what I want to build is a bottom signal that says, okay, that looks at the whole picture and says, okay, we've been dropping, and we've started to come up from that rise. Is that a fake rally, or is it a fake bottom, right? And so I want to build a signal that says, okay, we think we've reached the true bottom. There's a very high probability that this stock is not going any lower. And you can imagine how important that would be to know that a stock will not go any lower. You almost can't go wrong buying it if assuming that were 100%. Of course, it's never 100%. It's impossible. But you can understand how important that would be. So I want to provide that to the members. So that's one. The second future item that's on the roadmap is enhanced analysis. So I want to include more indicators, and it's not just like more is better here. What this is about is additional analysis across intersecting dimensions of data, and what that really means there is that we're using as many tools that as we are capable of using reasonably to mitigate the possibility that we have missed something. We don't want to miss anything, right? Like if all you look at is moving averages, then you miss trend information, right? If all you look at is Ichimoku cloud, then it doesn't have anything to do with probabilistic movements like looking at standard deviation movements. So we want to look at as many different dimensions as possible, and that doesn't mean that I'm just going to add indicator after indicator after indicator. In fact, the fact here is that we want to stick with what really makes sense, and do what we're good at. And so the enhanced analysis will include more indicators. It'll include more time frames so that we can be more sure about what we're getting into. I also, third thing, I want to do weekend crypto signals. So if I'm not much of a crypto trader, but I know some of the Patreon members like to trade crypto, and so at some point I'd like to have a weekend crypto signals page that just runs 24/7 rather than 5 days a week. That one, I don't know. I'm not sure what the priority is there. If people really want that, I'll do it. If they don't, then I guess who knows. And then the last thing is this UI for members, to be able to analyze all this data. So the web page will be up soon. It will allow you to register and log in. You can look at the current set. Now, of course, all of this, like the posts will go up on Patreon, on the Patreon page, but you can also log into the website eventually and see all of the alerts that have kicked off on a single like dashboard view. You log in, okay, these are the alerts that kicked off today, the bullish alerts, the bottom alerts, the crypto alerts, whatever kind of alerts. Letting those kick off, or letting people see those, all of them just in a row, is one thing you'll be able to do on the website. You'll be able to look up information about a given stock. You'll be able to look up historical signal information about a given stock, and then whatever else people want, like we can put that in there. So that'll be super important. And there's a couple other things. There's a few other future things that I'd like to add, but that kind of like covers the meat of what we're really trying to get to here. So it's going to be a really cool system. I'm super excited for people to be able to watch it and be able to send out email notifications for people and let them set their own user preferences and all that sort of stuff. So if you have any questions about that, or of course I always love answering other questions. So if you have any questions about that or anything else, feel free to comment on the video, comment or in one of the Patreon chats or on one of the articles. And if you have a feature request or feedback or anything like that, like just send it to me. I really want to hear it. I really want to know about it. And so that's all we got. We got wrapped up. It's 4:29 here, so we're like less than a minute shy of half an hour, which I guess I continued rambling. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Thanks, Ian. I appreciate it. It's I always enjoy seeing you here. So it'll be cool. It's gonna be cool. And so yeah, Tuesday it'll come out. I'll make an official software release document for it and all that stuff. And everybody enjoy the weekend. And we'll see you for trading on Monday. Take care.